All right, so a lot of things I previously said about Double Banner have now changed a little bit, along with my ability to predict how Double Banners will go. But we've got a lot to talk about in the new video other than characters, so I think it's best to start by holy fucking shit, the new story though. Like for real, there's so much going on here. I guess we can start with the story. We got the Pyro Abyss Lector. I'm just gonna call this category of enemies Abyss Elites because the Hydra one isn't a Lector, but whatever. We've got Osial coming back apparently. That might be event related, but we're rebuilding the Jade Chamber. I think that's event related. I don't know that that's Archon Quest. And to be honest, it looks like part of what we're going to be doing is building on what we already know from Liyue instead of what's going on in Inazuma. This does give me the impression that Liyue is going to kind of serve as the central hub for the adventure, which kind of makes sense with all the stuff about gods there and whatnot. But this will most likely be what we get immediately on the update. Interesting note is that this is referred to as an interlude chapter of the Archon quest, even though normally Act 4 directly involves the Abyss forces, and well, this seems like it's doing that. Is the Lector just kind of there then? Or is this something in between Acts 3 and 4 that introduces some of what we'll have in Act 4? I get the impression Osial is going to be our main adversary here, either by way of cinematic or possibly a direct boss fight. Again, that might just be the event because I know we're fighting something similar to Osial in the event. Although maybe we won't get the boss fight until 2.5. Strange that it seems like we're getting a Liyue boss fight because Inazuma doesn't have a second weekly boss yet. But I think after playing the Archon quest, the direction will become a bit clearer. All right. But I guess we'll talk characters and banners first. And the first thing I want to point out is they've done something I thought they wouldn't do. And that is put a rerun on a double banner with a new 5-star in the other slot. This makes people pick and choose between the two. And I'll get to some analysis of which one you should go for if you have neither later in the video. But first I want to discuss our new character, Shenhe, a bit. Turns out I've been pronouncing that wrong this whole time, and I may pronounce it wrong again in this video, but you know, what can you do? In a sense, she's Lady Chongyun. She's an exorcist and she's cryo. And it sounds like her Curse of Calamity thing puts her in a story position that parallels Bennett as well, which is an interesting combination of lore traits to work with. But I bet the thing you want to know about is her abilities. She's a support for cryo, so it looks like 3C is about to be a thing. Maybe even 4C, but we'll see. See what I did there? C. Anyway, what I find interesting is that her tap and hold will actually wind up buffing damage in different ways, so it's important to consider how the person you're about to use to take advantage of the buff is going to act in determining which one you use. We'll delve a bit into her comparison to Xiao later, like I said, but let's talk about Yoonjin for a second. Okay, so first thing to note, you can actually get Yoonjin for free thanks to the event here, so it's not going to be a matter of luck in pulling her. At least not for the first copy, so you're good. And there's something cultural about her that I want to talk about. She's a Chinese opera singer. Yeah, if you don't like the way she sings, her singing voice was actually done by a professional Chinese opera singer. Look, I get why this would be unusual to a Western musical palette. It can sound very off-key, but for one, it sounds way better with the full opera, and for two, shut the fuck up, you uncultured swine. Learn what a high chest voice is. Okay, so anyway, the shit she does. She's very interesting as she supports normal attacks and scales on defense, which makes it sound like she's slotting into the 3G team. And although you can do that, she actually has a skill that makes it so that you get more from having a rainbow team. Or, you know, a team with a bunch of different elements in it. I think her best teammates are probably going to be Tartaglia or Razor, simply because they're both built to do tons of normals, and she buffs normal attacks. Although if you have Polar Star and Tartaglia, he's going to be doing less of that than Razor is. Yoimiya also gets buffed by this, by the way. Note her buffs don't work on charged attacks. I also think that it's interesting that we're getting kind of a Geo Beto here with the hold and release thing. When I get to play with her more, I'll know more, but I really like what they've done with the way both of these characters buff. So, this is the return of the Lantern Rite, and as previously stated, you're going to get a free Liyue character, and this will include the two that weren't available in the previous Lantern Rite, Yanfei and the brand new Yoonjin. So, depending on what you're missing, this is a big plus. There's tons of rewards, more so than other festival-type events, really, so there will probably be plenty of extra chances for people to pick up the banner characters as well during this. And we've got the return of everyone's favorite event, Prop Hunt! Windtrace. It's Windtrace. And I get the feeling people are going to be pissed when this version's like a week long and has less rewards, but whatever, it's Windtrace. I'm not going to spend a ton of time of events here. We've got a new boss and area to talk about. Right, so let's delve a bit into Enkanomiya. All right, so I love the idea of having a world that switches between two different modes and you use that to explore. And the boss here, by the way, also switches modes based on which version you're in. It's some very next level puzzle design going on here. And it's hard to talk about much before actually playing it, but considering how good a lot of Inazuma locations have been at this sort of air of isolation that's explicitly being gone for here, Enkanomiya seems to be the height of that concept, and I'm all here for it. But right, let's talk about that banner. The two 5-stars are Shenhe and Zhao. And since MiHoYo decided to tell us the 4 stars early, you would think that I don't really have much to talk about other than, well, they gave us the 4 stars early for one, and for two, I do have more to talk about. This breaks sort of a rule of character banners that none of the 4 stars share an element with each other, since both Yoonjin and Ningguang are on this banner. In fact, the entire update's banners are all leadaway characters, but I mean, you'd think this would be an opportunity to rerun Xinyan, who hasn't been rerun in a while, yeah? And she's technically in Inazuma right now anyway, so I guess it makes sense. This first banner also breaks the rule of both event 5 stars being the same weapon type. But the weapons also match up with the 5-star characters, so unless MiHoYo has decided that I don't get to predict shit going forward unless I change my release schedule, that could wind up making those easier too. Anyway, right, let's get to the actual decision that needs to be made here. Xiao or Shinhu? Well, like with most things, it depends. Instead of going constellation for constellation like last time, I'm just going to go for which character to get in the first place if you don't have either. Well, depending on your lineup, if you're already main DPSing with Ganyu or Ayaka a lot, go for Shenhu. You throw a Diona onto that team and, well, there's your Cs. You just need the 4th character, which could also be a C. We'll talk about that in another video. Xiao, though, doesn't need any specific support, although I will say that on paper, he's probably the character more likely to work well with Yoonjin. As for what 5 stars he functions with, probably Raiden or Albedo, especially if you have C4 Albedo. So there you go. If you cryo heavy, then it's Shenhe over Xiao. Xiao is a lot more generally useful though, so if you're light on well-built cryo characters, then go for Xiao instead. Either way, good luck. And I'm sorry if this seems like a shorter video, but well fuck, I got plenty to touch on the next few weeks, don't I?